Welcome back to my channel. Today, we will learn about the issue that has completely turned Will, Katie, and Bill's world upside down, the shocking truth behind the car accident that killed Luna, and the dark, twisted love story between Will and Electra. This is not just a simple confession story, but a chain of secrets, obsession, revenge, and moral dilemmas that force every character to choose between justice, love, and their own conscience. Dylan's confession. Everything seems to begin with Dylan, the woman who steps forward and admits that she was the one driving the car that hit Luna. For a long time, the case was wrapped in mystery, with Luna's death hovering over the Forrester and Spencer families like a dark cloud, and everyone wondering who was truly responsible for the tragedy. Dylan, tormented by guilt and haunted by the night of the accident, finally cannot endure the pressure and decides to confess. She explains that she was driving near the beach, close to Will's house, when someone suddenly appeared on the road and she crashed into them, later learning that the victim was Luna. From that moment, Dylan has carried the weight of taking a life, and she believes that the only way to live with herself is to tell the truth, whatever the consequences. However, Dylan's confession is not the end of the story. It is only the first layer, and beneath it lies an even more terrifying truth involving Electra and a plan that has been quietly brewing for a long time. When the police investigate more carefully, they discover that the situation is far more complex than a simple tragic accident. The traffic camera a revelation. The turning point comes when traffic camera footage around the area of the accident is recovered and analyzed in detail. Initially, everyone believes that Dylan was alone in the car, struggling with her memories and guilt, but the video tells a completely different story. On the screen, investigators see that Dylan is not alone. Electra is in the passenger seat, sitting right beside her at the exact moment Luna is struck. Even more shocking, the footage shows Electra suddenly grabbing the steering wheel and jerking it, causing the car to veer into Luna's path and hit her. This detail changes everything. Dylan's narrative about a sudden figure on the road and an unavoidable accident becomes a distorted half-truth. Yes, she was the driver, but she was not the one who decided the fatal trajectory of the car. The act that turned a dangerous situation into a deadly collision came from Electra's deliberate move. When this evidence is uncovered, the investigation switches direction. Dylan is no longer seen as a lone, guilty driver, but as someone who may be covering up for another person's crime. The police begin to question motives, relationships, and emotions that could explain why Electra was in that car and why she interfered at such a critical moment. Electra's long-planned hatred. From the outside, Electra has always appeared to be the perfect partner for Will, sweet, loyal, and ready to build a future with him. But behind that gentle facade is a woman who has carefully watched Luna, evaluated her, and labeled her as a constant threat to her happiness. Electra knows Luna's history, the murders, the attempted killings, the manipulation, and the way Luna always seems to escape full accountability. Luna has hurt many people, targeted Steffi, nearly destroyed lives, and even been involved in shooting Liam and Sheila in a chaos of violence that left emotional scars across Los Angeles. To Electra, Luna is not just a rival in love or a passing danger. Luna is a force of darkness that could always come back, always return to threaten Will and everything they have built together. This fear and hatred slowly turn into an obsession. Electra begins to think that as long as Luna walks free, Will never truly be safe. She is convinced that one day Luna will target Will, manipulate him, or drag him into another deadly situation, just like she has done with others. From that point, the idea of eliminating the threat takes root in Electra's mind and grows into a long-term plan. Electra does not act impulsively. She studies Luna's habits, the places she often appears, the weak points in the system around her. She waits for an opportunity when Luna is vulnerable, when security is thin, and when an accident could be explained away as bad luck instead of cold-blooded murder. So when she sits in the car with Dylan that night, Electra is not just a passenger. She is a woman ready to seize the moment she has been waiting for, Dylan's loyalty and sacrifice. The question then becomes, why did Dylan, a woman haunted by her own trauma and past encounters with Luna, decide to cover for Electra? The answer lies in the complicated bond that has formed between them over time and Dylan's deep respect and affection for her. Dylan's connection to the Spencer and Forrester families runs through Hayes and the chaos at the beach house, where Luna once held her hostage and pushed everyone into a nightmare of kidnappings and shootings. That experience left Dylan emotionally scarred, and she has never fully forgiven herself for letting Luna into her world and, in some way, enabling the chain of events that followed. When Dylan later gets to know Electra, she sees someone who genuinely loves Will, someone who wants to protect him from the kind of danger Luna brings wherever she goes. Over time, Dylan develops a strong attachment to Electra, partly because she teaches or helps with Hayes, and partly because she recognizes in Electra a fierce determination to shield the people she loves. So when the accident happens and Electra's involvement becomes clear to her, Dylan makes an almost unthinkable decision. She chooses to take the blame. In her mind, she was already driving, already part of the event, and she feels that she has owed the world a debt ever since Luna's violence destroyed her sense of safety. By claiming full responsibility, Dylan believes she can both atone for the past and protect Electra, sparing Will from losing the woman he loves. This choice, however, becomes a torture of its own, living every day as the killer while knowing that Electra took the decisive action eats away at her soul. The pressure from the investigation, the weight of lies, and the knowledge that the truth might surface at any time eventually push Dylan past her breaking point. That is when she finally chooses to reveal everything, even if it means turning the world of Will and Electra upside down. Will faces the unbearable truth. For Will, the revelation is like the ground opening beneath his feet. He has always seen Electra as a bright spot in a life that has too often been overshadowed by the dramatic choices and dangerous histories of the adults around him. Electra represented stability, kindness, a chance to build something normal away from the constant storms that the Spencer name tends to attract. When the truth comes out that the woman he loves was the one who grabbed the wheel and caused the car to fatally strike, Luna will must confront a horrifying thought. Electra is not just a victim of circumstances, but the architect of a deadly act. Even if part of him understands her fear of Luna and her desire to protect him, another part cannot escape the reality that she crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. This is not a simple misunderstanding or a lie about the past. It is a secret that involves life and death, justice and murder. Will has to ask himself if he can accept being loved in a way that turns into lethal action, if he can sleep beside someone who chose to become judge, jury, and executioner in the name of protecting him. At the same time, Will cannot ignore Luna's own history. Luna has tried to kill Liam and has threatened other lives, manipulating situations to her advantage and showing little remorse for the chaos she created. That makes Will's emotional struggle even more complicated because Electra does not see herself as a monster. She sees herself as someone who stopped a far greater evil from striking again. Electra reveals her true self. Once unmasked, Electra does not collapse into tears, deny everything, or beg for forgiveness. Instead, she stands tall and reveals the core of how she sees herself and her actions. She admits openly that she does not regret what happened to Luna. In Electra's mind, Luna is a predator who has already taken lives, wounded families, and repeatedly escaped real punishment. From attempted murders to manipulations and emotional terror, Luna is, in Electra's view, a walking time bomb that will always look for the next victim. Electra believes that by taking that wheel and causing that crash, she prevented future deaths, future grief, and perhaps even saved Will himself from being targeted. She declares herself a punishing angel, a kind of avenger who is willing to dirty her hands to stop someone she sees as irredeemably dangerous. This is not the confession of someone broken by guilt. It is the manifesto of a woman who has accepted the darkness inside her as the price of protecting the person she loves. Electra insists she is ready to accept the consequences, whether that means prison, public hatred, or losing Will. In her eyes, her love for Will and her duty to protect him justify the sacrifice of her own freedom and reputation. What she cannot accept is the idea that Luna's life and future mattered more than the safety of everyone she has harmed or threatened. The shadow of Luna's past crimes. To truly understand the weight of Electra's words, it is necessary to look back at Luna's history, which is full of crimes and moral corruption. Luna has been responsible for the deaths of multiple men, gone to prison, manipulated Bill's sympathy through letters about abuse, and then used his mercy to return to her old ways. After being pardoned and placed under house arrest, Luna did not turn over a new leaf. Instead, she plotted new attacks, targeting Steffi, Liam, and Sheila in a new wave of violence that showed she felt no real remorse for her past actions. Even when she was shot and nearly killed in confrontations, she remained a figure who provoked and confronted others, constantly walking the line between victim and villain. Liam himself, in a desperate moment, pulled the trigger on Luna, believing that killing her might be the only way to protect his family and knowing that his own life might not last much longer. That episode highlighted just how dangerous Luna truly was and how many people had already been pushed to the edge by her. All of this gives context to Electra's decision. She does not attack a harmless woman. She targets someone whose presence has repeatedly meant death, trauma, and destruction. Yet, even with this context, the central question remains: does Luna's past justify Electra's decision to kill her outside of the law? Katie and Bill's impossible choice. While Will wrestles with love and horror, Katie and Bill face a different, but equally painful dilemma as parents. They must decide how to respond to Electra, the woman who has both loved their son and committed an unforgivable act in the name of that love. On one hand, they see Electra's devotion. She has been there for Will, supporting him, accepting his background, and all the baggage that comes with being Bill Spencer's son. Katie and Bill understand what it means to live with enemies, to make dangerous choices, and to carry guilt. They know that Luna was no innocent angel and that she posed a real threat. On the other hand, accepting Electra's motives means accepting that killing someone out of love for their child is in any way understandable. If they protect Electra too much, if they try to soften the consequences, then they risk sending Will a message that murder is negotiable if the target is dangerous enough. As parents, they must weigh their instinct to shield their son from further pain against their obligation to uphold some sense of moral boundary. Bill, who has himself bent the rules and used power to influence outcomes, might feel sympathy for Electra's ruthless protectiveness. Katie, often the moral center, may feel that allowing Electra to escape full accountability would be a betrayal of everything they want for Will's character and future. Together, they must decide whether to stand firmly with the law or to quietly, indirectly shield Electra for Will's sake. Love, justice, and consequence. At the heart of this storyline is a collision between love and justice. Electra's actions are driven by emotion, fear, and a fierce desire to protect the man she loves from someone who has repeatedly proven to be lethal. Dylan's choices are shaped by guilt, loyalty, and a belief that sacrificing herself might somehow balance the scales. Will, Katie, and Bill stand in the middle, tugged in opposite directions by empathy and principle. They can see why Electra did what she did, especially when Luna's history is so brutally clear. But they also know that allowing personal pain and fear to justify homicide opens the door to endless cycles of revenge. In the end, this story forces every character and every viewer to ask difficult questions. Is there ever a good murder when the victim is a known killer? Can love validate an act that crosses all moral and legal lines? And if the law steps in and punishes Electra, does that truly bring justice? Or does it simply add one more broken life to a growing list of tragedies? That is the dark, complex issue that today's episode of this saga brings to the surface, and it leaves Will, Electra, Dylan, Katie, and Bill standing at a crossroads where every path forward will change their lives forever. Next, we will learn about the issue that is shaking up the Forrester family and sending shockwaves through CBS's The Bold and the Beautiful. This is one of the most catastrophic revelations in recent soap opera history, and it involves a family secret that has been carefully hidden for decades. Prepare yourself, because this storyline will fundamentally alter everything you thought you knew about the Forrester empire, family loyalty, and the true nature of power in Los Angeles' fashion world. Eric's shocking family gathering, the moment everything changes. The episode begins like any other day at the Forrester mansion, but Eric Forrester has called an emergency family meeting. There's something different about his demeanor today. The typically composed patriarch appears visibly agitated, his jaw clenched, his eyes carrying the weight of decades of deception. He summons Ridge, Thorne, Bridget, and all the key members of the Forrester family to gather in the grand living room. Nobody knows what this is about, but the tension in the air is suffocating. For once, the constant bickering between family members ceases. Everyone senses that something seismic is about to happen. Eric stands before them, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. He has decided that the time has come to finally reveal a secret he has carried alone for 40 years. This secret, he explains, is something he has hidden from his beloved late wife Stephanie, from his children, and from everyone in his inner circle. The family braces themselves, but nothing could have prepared them for what comes next. The revelation: Eric's illegitimate child from Italy. Eric reveals that before he married Stephanie Forrester, he had a romantic relationship with a woman in Italy. This woman became pregnant, and she gave birth to a son. This child, now a mature and accomplished man, has grown up entirely outside the Forrester world. He has become a powerful businessman and entrepreneur in Europe, establishing himself as a major force in European commerce and fashion. For 4 decades, this child has lived his life completely unaware of his true father's identity, and the Forrester family has lived their lives completely unaware of his existence. But now, the secret is out. This illegitimate son knows exactly who his father is, and he has traveled from Europe to Los Angeles with a very specific purpose. He wants formal recognition and, more importantly, a substantial portion of the Forrester creation's inheritance that is rightfully his as Eric's biological offspring. The revelation sends shockwaves through the room. Ridge's face goes pale. Thorne looks stunned. Bridget is visibly emotional. Even pragmatic Donna seems overwhelmed by the implications of what Eric is telling them. This isn't just a personal matter, it's a financial and corporate crisis that could fundamentally alter the distribution of one of the most valuable fashion empires in the world. The ultimatum: inheritance or exposure. Eric's illegitimate son doesn't come to Los Angeles to politely ask for recognition or a small financial settlement. Instead, he arrives with an iron will and a devastating ultimatum. He demands that he be given a legitimate and substantial portion of the Forrester creation's inheritance. He wants to be acknowledged as Eric's son and to receive the benefits and power that come with that recognition. But here's where it becomes truly sinister. If the family refuses his demands, he threatens to take legal action against them. More devastatingly, he has accumulated knowledge of numerous dark secrets within the Forrester empire: financial improprieties, hidden business dealings, and years of corporate misconduct that have been carefully swept under the rug. If he doesn't get what he wants, he will expose every single one of these secrets to the public, to law enforcement, and to the media. He will bring the entire Forrester dynasty down with him if necessary. This is no idle threat. He possesses documentation, evidence, and insider knowledge that could trigger criminal investigations, destroy the family's reputation, and potentially dismantle Forrester creations entirely. The Forrester family faces an impossible choice: either surrender a significant portion of their inheritance and power to this unknown European businessman, or face complete and utter destruction. The family's crisis, facing the impossible choice. Ridge finds himself in an unprecedented position. As the primary architect of Forrester Creations' modern strategy and the most influential voice in the family's decision-making process, he must grapple with this impossible situation. Surrendering a major portion of the company to Eric's illegitimate son means diminishing Ridge's own power base and influence. It means accepting that his life's work will be partially owned by a stranger. Thorne, always struggling to find his place within the dynasty compared to Ridge's prominence, sees this as both a threat and a potential opportunity. An additional Forrester with power could shift the delicate balance of family politics. Bridget, torn between loyalty to her father Eric and concern for the family's financial future, struggles emotionally with the revelation of her father's long-hidden infidelity and the complication it brings to their relationships. For Eric himself, this is a moment of reckoning. He must confront not only the consequences of his actions decades ago, but also the emotional weight of finally claiming a son he has never known. There's a part of him that wants to welcome this child into the family to make amends for years of absence. But the pragmatic businessman in him understands the catastrophic financial implications of what this recognition means. The threat hanging over their heads is relentless and absolute. This man has spent his life becoming powerful and successful in Europe, building his own empire through cunning and determination. He didn't come to Los Angeles unprepared. He didn't come as a desperate man seeking validation. He came as a businessman executing a strategic play. Every document has been gathered. Every piece of evidence has been compiled. Every leverage point has been identified and weaponized. The monster emerges, Sheila's role in the conspiracy. But the horror doesn't end there. The situation takes a catastrophic turn when the Forrester family discovers that Sheila, one of the most dangerous, unpredictable, and vengeful figures in their history, has discovered this secret. And worse, she's discovered it before they wanted her to. Sheila, the supervillain who has terrorized the Forrester family for years, has been quietly conducting her own investigation into Eric's past. Through her connections, her determination, and her willingness to cross any ethical line, she has uncovered the existence of Eric's illegitimate son. More importantly, she has gathered information about the secrets and financial improprieties that this man intends to use as leverage. Now, Sheila possesses a weapon of unimaginable power. She knows the secret, she has copies of the evidence, and she understands exactly how to weaponize this information against the family she has spent years trying to infiltrate and destroy. For Sheila, who has been mistreated by the Forresters and holds an endless grudge against them for every slight and rejection she's endured, this is the ultimate revenge. Sheila's grand revenge, the final weapon. Throughout her years on the show, Sheila has been portrayed as a woman absolutely driven by the desire for revenge against those who wronged her. She was married to Eric once, and the family's rejection of her festered into an obsession with destruction. She has tried countless schemes over the years: blackmail, kidnapping, murder, but none have ever truly destroyed the family completely. They always managed to recover, to rebuild, to move forward. But now, with the knowledge of Eric's secret child and the leverage that this secret provides, Sheila believes she finally has the weapon she needs to bring the entire Forrester empire to its knees. She doesn't need to physically harm anyone. She doesn't need to kidnap or threaten. She simply needs to reveal what she knows and watch the family destroy itself from within. Sheila's plan is deliciously simple. She will use her knowledge of Eric's illegitimate son as her ultimate bargaining chip. She will threaten to expose everything, not just to the family, but to the media, to law enforcement, to Eric's business partners and rivals. She will orchestrate the revelation in such a way that the maximum amount of damage is inflicted on the family she despises. For Sheila, this isn't just about money or power. It's personal. Every year that she has spent on the periphery of the Forrester family, every time she has been rejected or cast out, every moment of humiliation has built up into a consuming desire for vengeance. This secret represents her opportunity to finally achieve what she has always wanted: the complete and total destruction of the Forrester dynasty. The threat multiplies, competing interests and escalating danger. What makes this situation even more precarious is that now multiple parties are involved in this dangerous game. There's Eric's illegitimate son, who has his own agenda and his own demands. There's Sheila, who is now using this knowledge to leverage her own power within and against the family. And there are the Forresters themselves, desperate to contain the damage and maintain their empire. The potential for catastrophic escalation is enormous. If Sheila decides to go public with the information, it won't just be about Eric's illegitimate son. She will expose every dark secret she has discovered, every financial impropriety, every hidden dealing. The resulting scandal would be unprecedented in scope. Ridge must navigate this minefield carefully. If he negotiates directly with Eric's illegitimate son, he risks Sheila using that negotiation as evidence of a cover-up. If he tries to silence Sheila, he risks driving her to immediate exposure. If he does nothing, the situation spirals out of his control. Thorne, watching from the wings, sees opportunity in the chaos. Perhaps he can position himself as the family savior if he can somehow resolve this crisis. Perhaps he can finally emerge from Ridge's shadow by solving what Ridge cannot. The business implications. Forrester creations at stake. Beyond the personal drama and family betrayal, there are enormous business implications to this situation. Forrester Creations is a multi-billion-dollar fashion empire. Its value depends partially on its reputation, its stability, and the confidence of its investors and business partners. If a scandal of this magnitude breaks, the stock price could plummet. Major partnerships could be severed. Retailers could distance themselves from the brand. A legitimate claim from Eric's illegitimate son to a portion of the company would be complicated enough. But when combined with the threat of exposure of corporate misconduct, the situation becomes truly dire. Investors would flee. Business partners would reconsider their relationships. The brand that has taken decades to build could collapse in weeks. Eric, despite his age and his generally declining role in day-to-day operations, must grapple with the understanding that his decades-old secret threatens to destroy the empire he spent his entire life building. He must confront the knowledge that his actions in Italy, his romantic indiscretion before his marriage to Stephanie, has created a chain of events that could have catastrophic consequences for everyone he cares about. The emotional toll, family relationships shattered. Beyond the financial and business considerations, the emotional toll on the family is immense. Ridge's trust in Eric is fundamentally shaken. He has always viewed his father as a moral compass, a man of principles and integrity. To learn that Eric has hidden a child for decades forces Ridge to reconsider everything he thought he knew about his father. Thorne finds himself in an unexpected position. For years, he has felt overshadowed by Ridge. Now, with the family in crisis, perhaps there's an opportunity for him to step forward and demonstrate his own value and competence. But doing so in a moment of family emergency would require a delicate balance between ambition and loyalty. Bridget is devastated. She has always had a close relationship with her father, and learning about his hidden child and his years of deception cuts deeply. She must reconcile her love for her father with her disappointment in his choices and the consequences those choices have created. For Donna, Eric's current wife, the revelation brings up complex emotions. She must grapple with the knowledge that Eric kept such an enormous secret from her. She must question whether she truly knows the man she married. She must consider whether their relationship can survive this revelation and its aftermath. The media circus, control versus exposure. As knowledge of the situation begins to spread, the media circus grows increasingly chaotic. The fashion industry is always hungry for scandal, and this story has all the elements of a career-destroying news cycle. Paparazzi descend on Forrester offices and the family's homes. Reporters stake out the mansion. Social media erupts with speculation and accusation. The family must make crucial decisions about how to handle the media narrative. Do they try to suppress the story entirely and hope it goes away? Do they attempt to control the narrative by issuing a carefully crafted statement? Do they attempt to make Eric's illegitimate son sympathetic in the eyes of the public, hoping to frame him as a long-lost child rather than a threatening extortionist? Each choice carries enormous risks. Suppression could backfire if the media discovers they're being misled. Transparency could accelerate the scandal. Sympathy for the illegitimate son could undermine the family's negotiating position. Sheila's endgame. What does she really want? As this crisis unfolds, everyone must try to understand what Sheila's ultimate goal is. Is she simply seeking revenge for its own sake? Is she using her knowledge of the secret as a bargaining chip to extract money from the family? Is she threatening to expose everything unless she receives a specific price? The terrifying aspect of Sheila's involvement is that she is fundamentally unpredictable. She has always operated by her own rules, driven by personal grievances and a distorted sense of justice. The family can attempt to negotiate with Eric's illegitimate son on the basis of financial concerns and business logic. But Sheila operates from pure emotion and a desire to inflict maximum damage. If Sheila decides that revenge is more important to her than any financial settlement, she could detonate this bomb and destroy everything, including any possibility of resolving the situation quietly and maintaining at least some semblance of the family's reputation. The fork in the road, paying the price or facing destruction. The Forrester family now stands at a fundamental crossroads. They can capitulate to Eric's illegitimate son's demands, transfer a significant portion of Forrester creations to him, formally acknowledge him as Eric's son, and attempt to contain Sheila through negotiation or threat. This option preserves the company, but requires surrendering substantial power and wealth. Alternatively, they can refuse to negotiate, call the illegitimate son's bluff, and hope that he doesn't follow through on his threats to expose corporate misconduct. This option preserves family power, but risks complete corporate and reputational destruction if the exposure happens. There is no good option. Every choice available to them involves significant risk and significant loss. The family, that has always prided itself on its ability to weather crises and emerge stronger, now finds itself facing a threat so existential that traditional strategies don't apply. Conclusion: the beginning of the end or the moment of reckoning. As this storyline unfolds across multiple episodes, the Forrester family will be forced to confront not only external threats, but also their own internal divisions and conflicting interests. Ridge will clash with Thorne over strategy. Eric will struggle with guilt and responsibility. Sheila will manipulate events from the shadows, ensuring maximum chaos. The Bold and the Beautiful has always been a show about family, legacy, power, and the choices that define us. Eric's 40-year-old secret, now exposed, forces every member of the Forrester family to examine their own values, their loyalties, and what they are ultimately willing to sacrifice to preserve the empire they have spent their lives building. This is more than just a scandal. This is a moment of reckoning for the Forrester dynasty. The question that will drive this storyline forward is simple. Will the Forresters survive this crisis intact? Or will Eric's secret be the catalyst that finally brings down one of soap opera's greatest dynasties? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more exciting updates and analysis of the Bold and the Beautiful. If you enjoyed this content, please like and share this video. Leave your thoughts and predictions in the comments below about how you think this storyline will unfold. What do you think the Forresters should do? Should they negotiate with Eric's illegitimate son, or should they fight back? How will Sheila's involvement change the outcome? We'll see you in the next video.